Okay, let's move on to the next spot on the board. 1 p.m. Eastern. Seattle Seahawks 5-2, 2-1 on the road. Baltimore Ravens 6-2, 2-1 at home. M&T Bank Stadium. Baltimore, Maryland, 66 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. These Seahawks are now leading the NFC West. They're playing tough football teams. They're playing them well. Look at some of these games they've had this year on the road. I mean, it all started when they beat the Lions after losing to the Rams, making a statement that they were the real deal. And their stats are so tricky to break down and to quantify, and we'll go over them here because some of them are just not nonsense, but I mean, their red zone defense that was allowing 90% of red zone drives score touchdowns was how I watched this team play, and I don't see them looking that horrific in their red zone defense. But let's discuss this spot here right now. We have the total at 43.5. All the other books are at 43. This is at 43.5, and it's only moved 5 cents to the under. So they're in no rush to move this down to 43 over at Pinnacle. From a point spread standpoint here, we have it's sitting at 5.5 for Baltimore. You know, this opened up at 5.5. It moved to 6, and it's come back to 5.5. I think that's too many points. And, you know, I've had a feeling that the Ravens would kind of play irresponsible football against the Cardinals, but I still was afraid to bet it. I don't see the Seahawks coming to town as being this major motivator. It's not like a divisional game for the Ravens. 45% of tickets, 61% of the cash on the Seahawks.
Then you Ravens versus non-conference have been every bit of legitimate.
Well, they're just a real legitimate football team. I mean, these are two good football teams. I mean, there's a reason why the Ravens are this big of a favorite. 48% of tickets, 61% cash on the under. So some sharp money on the under, but Pinnacle, no rush to move it down to 43. Seahawks coming off a huge 24-20 home win over the Browns, put them at a half game up with Niners. Geno, 23 of 37 for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Tyler Lockett caught 8 for 81, a touchdown. DK Metcalf caught 5 passes for 67 yards, but it was springing Jackson Najigba with that block. When you start seeing, you start realizing these guys are all buying in, all believing. And he was like a superstar after he blocked that block. Everybody on the team talked about it nonstop. They were 3 of 5 in the red zone. They've been struggling there of late. So over the last 3 weeks, they're converting just 38.5% of those opportunities. So that's dropping. The defense was strong throughout. 3 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. Woolen and Julian Love had interceptions. Held the Browns to 2 of 4 in the red zone. They were last in the NFL in red zone defense for the first 4 weeks of the season. 90%. I said that off the top. They have improved over the last 3 weeks. They're holding teams to touchdowns on 57.14% of the red zone drives. So they're still 29th in the league, allowing opponents to convert 73.3% of red zone opportunities. Ravens coming off a 34-27 victory at Arizona. Lamar 18-27, 157 yards and a touchdown, ran 5 times for 17 yards. I don't think we should put too much into it. They just didn't care that much and just, went in, got the job done and left without too many injuries. Gus Edwards ran 19 times for 80 yards, 3 touchdowns. Mark Andrews continued to look better and better. 4 catches for 40 yards and touchdown. It wasn't a great day for him, but he's been looking better. The offense only put up 268 yards, but they went 4 of 4 in the red zone. Their red zone offense is 3rd in the league, scoring touchdowns, 67.7% of opportunities. They were outgained by the Cards 310 to 268. And the Cards went 3 for 3 in the red zone against the Ravens, where they're amazing. They're 3rd in red zone offense. They're 3rd in red zone defense. And Marcus Williams missed the last 2 games with a hamstring injury. He's listed as questionable to go this week, but the Ravens are the real deal. And that's why you can get the Bengals at plus 350 or 400 to win the division. I just think it's too many points. That's all. I just think it's too many points. But I don't know if I'm going to get to the window. Take it away for us here, Troy. Seahawks, Ravens.
I stand by what I said. I know a lot of people see the Seahawks a lot different than what I do, but I see them as an average team at the very best. They're definitely lucky to win and cover versus the Browns. They've had the easiest schedule in the NFL by a wide margin, by a couple points, which is a wide margin. Go look at who they've beaten, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And that includes P.J. Walker and the Browns. That's their best win so far this season, in my opinion. The Lions was a really tough spot for the Lions. I guess you can give them some credit for that. But The Ravens have had a quite soft schedule as well, but they've been performing in line with their preseason expectations 100%. This is where a lot of people, a lot of cappers, and a lot of models expected to see the Ravens. The Seahawks were power rated in the bottom half of the league. And I think this spread reflects exactly that. We see the Ravens meeting their expectations, the Seahawks over their expectations. And I think that this spread at 5.5 tells me the story. I mean, what happens when Geno Smith and the Seahawks run into a good defense? The Bengals, the Browns, 2 interceptions in both those games for Geno Smith. I mean, if you know me, you know I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. I'm not ready to admit I was wrong about this Seahawks team yet, but I'm there with the Ravens team. I think I've seen enough. I didn't want to jump the gun early in the season, but Lamar Jackson's numbers resemble his MVP season. Career high in completion rate, yards per attempt, and his highest PFF passer grade so far. I had this number at 6.5, 6.59, so I see value. And like you said, the red zone dichotomy is where the value came in on the model, with the Ravens being good offensively and defensively, and the Seahawks being well below average overall in the red zone. So I have the Ravens it's not a teaser, it's a money line parlay that I mentioned earlier. And I'm really considering this Ravens spread. I don't like it at the 5.5. I was hoping I could get a 4, maybe a 3.5, but shit, the bookies think it's 5.5. I'm surprised to see it. And I think Mac Beaver pointed out probably the most important thing, which is why I haven't moved on the spread yet. And that's that they have the Browns on deck. The Ravens have the Browns next week. And if you look back and you see how the Ravens have performed before that game, and to your point, Jimmy, like, are they going to get up for this game, this non-divisional opponent, like when they got the Browns on deck? And they haven't performed well in the past prior to playing the Browns. This year, they lost to the Indianapolis Colts. Last year, they lost to whoever it was. They don't win those games, but I'm trying to buck the trend at that point. So yeah, I'm on the Ravens.
Yeah, Ravens is part of your money line parlay. That's with the Falcons. Is that right?
Yep.
Falcons, Ravens.
Falcons, Ravens.
Yeah, I'm not going to move on this tonight. I just, when they played the Lions at home, the market was screaming that they were going to trash the Lions. Maybe not, to the extent that they did. But here, I feel like it's, you just played Arizona. I just feel like it's the doldrums of the schedule where they're not. I don't see them getting that up, and you need to get up to beat the Seahawks by margin.
And I can see the Ravens holding up in the red zone and the Ravens scoring in the red zone, in the model, that's what got it up to the 6.5.
Yes, no doubt. And you talked about the extreme difference of the two red zone, especially defense. I mean, then it's perfect.
Look at that's a red zone. Their red zone ratings versus who? I mean, they were successful in the red zone against the Browns. This is the Cardinals, the Giants, the Panthers. I mean, come on.
Well, I comfortably talked off of the spot, and that's fine. I also think that the total is really sharp. I don't feel like I have an edge here. Al Cervic says when Lamar plays NFC teams, they don't see him often. He destroys.
I don't have the numbers on that, but he's exactly right. That's a note that I have on mine as well. And I know I went through it. I didn't look up the spreads in those games, but I know that they definitely covered those spreads.
All right. Well, I can stay off of it at this point. Let's move on.